Well, shalom, shalom, shalom. This is Daniel John Lee with Torah Restoration Ministries. It's been a while since I've made a video. It is the happy new moon. It is the evening of March 9th, 2016, Wednesday night. It is the new moon. The conjunction new moon starts tonight and goes through March 10th until tomorrow night. It is now the 13th new moon of the year. Normally, a Hebrew year will have 12 months, just like our secular calendar. But this is not a normal year. If you all remember, the new year last year started right on the spring equinox, right on March 21st, when we had that big solar eclipse. And so all the feast days were very early last year, if you remember. In fact, Sukkot started as early as late September. So it was a very early year for the feast days last year. And so because of that, in order to keep the feasts in their proper season, there has to be an Adar Bet, or Adar 2. It's a second 12th month. Because if we started the year tomorrow, if we started the year tonight, what would happen is you would wind up celebrating Sukkot in the late summer before any of the fruits, so the fruit harvests that are typically used for Sukkot, have even ripened in Israel. It's still winter here in Oregon. It's very rainy and cold, and it is still winter in Israel. In fact, even Nehemiah Gordon and I have definitely had our disputes. Not only does he deny the Messiah, Yahshua, but he also has a tendency, both in 2010 and 2013, to jumpstart the new year and start it a month early when it's still winter in Israel, because he finds, a little tiny bunch of Aviv barley. However, if you go to the scriptures, Leviticus 23:10 is very specific. It says, "Speak unto the children of Israel." Okay, so he's speaking to all 12 tribes. And he commands them to bring up a first fruits or sheaf of their barley harvest up to the temple, so that on the Feast of First Fruits, which always happens on the morrow after the Sabbath, during the 7 days of unleavened bread, during Passover week, they'll present it to the high priest. Notice it is a command given to all the children of Israel. Okay, so Karaite tradition that Nehemiah Gordon follows, that Micah Rood follows, they only think that the high priest has to go out and find a first sheaf in a field close to Jerusalem, maybe in the Kidron Valley, and bring it up and wave it. But that is not what the text says. Leviticus 23:10 is directed to all the children of Israel. Go read it yourself. In fact, the entire chapter of Leviticus 23, which details the Sabbath day and all the annual feast days, are directed to not just the priests, not just the high priests, but to all the children of Israel. So, all the 12 tribes of Israel have to bring up the first fruit harvest, or the first sheaf of their barley when it is Aviv, when it's ripe, once they sickle their harvest fields, and bring up their first sheaves. That means the barley has to be Aviv throughout the entire land of Israel. That means from the northern tip of Israel all the way down to the southern Negev, barley must be Aviv. As of tonight, on this new moon day that begins tonight because of the conjunction that occurred, the barley is not Aviv. In fact, even Nehemiah Gordon, if you go to his website, even he will agree with me this time. He's gone throughout the Jordan Valley, he's gone throughout the Kinneret, and he has not found any a barley that is Aviv, or at least a whole field that is Aviv. He's found a few stalks here and there, but not enough to sickle a field, as Deuteronomy 16:9 commands. Tomorrow he's going to go up, because he follows the crescent moon. So tomorrow he's going to go up into the northern reaches of Israel and search there. I guarantee you already, he's not going to find any barley that's Aviv or ripe. So what does that mean? That means that until all the barley is ripe, or the barley is generally ripe throughout the land of Israel, you cannot declare a new year. Now here's an agricultural fact, okay? And you won't have to waste your money sending it to Nehemiah Gordon as he tries to bilk you for money to fund his quest to search for the Aviv barley, which is really silly. Agricultural fact, okay? You cannot dispute this. The barley throughout all the land of Israel will never be fully Aviv, okay, generally speaking, until after the first new moon, after the spring equinox, okay? So you have to wait for the first new moon after the spring equinox. We're on a new moon that starts tonight. We're still a couple of weeks before the spring equinox, okay? Equinox doesn't occur for a couple of weeks until the end of March. So what does this mean? This means that because the barley is not Aviv as of this new moon, you can only begin a month on a new moon. So we have an Adar Bet, or an Adar 2, or literally what's known, rendered in English, as the second 12th month. So what that means is the next new moon, which occurs, I believe, in the second week of April, that will be the new year. By then, the barley throughout Israel, generally speaking, will be Aviv, will be ripe, and then we can begin the new year. Now you may say, well, why do you use the equinox? Why is that a measure? Barley is only one indicator to determine the new year. You also have to use Genesis 1 verse 14, in which the sun, moon, and stars are also used to determine signs, seasons, years. Okay? When you only use the barley as an indicator, which is what Nehemiah Gordon does and the Karaites do and Macaroon do, you're forgetting the additional indicators that are supposed to be used according to Genesis 1:14. So how do I use the sun, the moon, and the stars? Well, we all use the moon because we use the new moon, and we use the sun and stars. Sun is a star, by the way. We use that by throwing in the spring equinox. Whenever we wait until the first new moon after the spring equinox, this year will occur in early April, then all the barley will be Aviv. And then the children of Israel can sickle can put a sickle to their respective harvests, and they can bring each of them a first sheaf of their barley up to the high priest to wave on the Feast of First Fruits, which occurs on the morrow after the Sabbath during Passover week. Hopefully that all makes sense. Read and meditate on Genesis 1:14. Read and meditate on Leviticus 23:10. I'll also provide a link below this video, which examines this very same issue that occurred in 2010 and 2013, and provides several links, including a link to a book by Don Esposito, who explores this issue in great detail, including showing how even the word equinox is found in the scripture. It's a word called tekufa, and it's in the scripture a number of times throughout the Tanakh. So, there's going to be no Happy New Year tonight. There's no Happy New Year tomorrow. It is Adar Bet, Adar 2. It is a 13th month, or more properly called a second 12th month. This will go for the next 29 to 30 days, and then we will come to the next conjunction of new moon. I'll have to check my calendar. I can't remember if this is a 29 or 30-day month. But in either case, the next new moon coming up in April, I believe it's the second week of April, that will be Happy New Year. By then, spring will be in full force in Israel and across the northern hemisphere. And 14 days after that, of course, will be Passover in mid to late April. All right, so happy Adar Bet. Shalom, shalom. This is Daniel John Lee with Torah Restoration Ministries, Rosh Kodesh. Happy New Moon.